Okay, so today is a bit of a different kind of video than what you might be used to. I usually either do some form of gaming or animation, but today I'm just going to be doing a kind of review on the Netflix War for Cybertron series. I'm just going to go over some things I like, some criticisms, which there are a lot more things that I like than criticisms, but anyway, let's get started. Alright, so for a bit of an overview, I'm going to talk about some general things, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go episode by episode, what I like, what I don't, but first, we're going to start off with some things about these series in general. The voice acting. It is a very fair criticism. In some places, especially Scorponok, which I'll show right now.
Son, you are of the creators.
It's questionable, to say the least. I do think some voices are good, however. Those being Red Alert, Starscream, Megatron, and Optimus, just a few. The intros. These things are sick, man. These are some of the coolest intros I have ever seen, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know what it is about them. They're just great. I'm just gonna go ahead and make it known. I despise Alita's character. There's something about her that is so annoying. She's just the worst. Anyway, I'm not going to be doing, full in-depth reasons for my points, because I want to keep it short and simple. I also don't know how to do this that well. So it's going to be some basic points, some amount of explanation. Anyway, let's get started with Siege. Okay, so to start off with Siege Episode 1. I like how Bumblebee is set up in this entire series. This doesn't just apply to this episode, but the entire series. He's just like an outsider compared to like a loyal Autobot, which I really like the change. And we'll see this in other parts of the series later on, which I like that too. Something I don't like, however, is how Jetfire just cuts off Starscream's hand. Like, it just feels like they are trying too hard to get across the point that, oh, the Decepticons, they're so brutal. Like, look at this, just chop. Anyway, it just feels unnecessary. That's what I'm trying to get at. Now, the power dynamic between Optimus and Megatron is quite interesting, because it like shows that even though Optimus is a prime, it's not enough to like substitute fighting experience, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. And yeah, the way Megatron, since we're talking about Megatron, the way he is portrayed in this, I like. He starts off sane to some degree, and he likes honor. He's an honorable soul for the most part. This, and it starts to go downhill. I will talk about this more in future episodes. For episode 2, I like how Ultra Magnus's betrayal was done. To me, it just kind of makes sense that Ultra Magnus, a fellow disciple of Alpha Trion, would do whatever he could to stop the fighting, once it got to the degree it had. Also like how you can already begin to see the cracks in Megatron. As I brought up last episode, he's already starting to, go deeper into insanity. And I also like how Shockwave is portrayed. Morality is not an issue, he just does not care. Also, the fact that it's not just Autobots suffering, it's Decepticons too. I think that is a really interesting thing that I don't think gets shown that often, because I usually think it's just like pure Autobots getting beaten up, barely Decepticons, unless it's like a big bad. So that's something I thought was pretty cool. Alright, right off the bat, I don't have too much to say about this one. It's just kind of filler, in my opinion. So, yeah, we're just going to get started with episode 3. So, similar to Bumblebee, I like how Ratchet is portrayed as, like, a Autobot at heart, with his morals, but he's not aligning with them because of, how the war is going. I think it's a neat concept, having these usually the most loyal out of their faction, kind of be kind of outsiders. I think that's cool. One issue that I have with Jetfire's betrayal is just it doesn't feel like it makes sense, in my opinion. It just doesn't feel logical, I guess. It doesn't feel like a well-written betrayal. I feel like him shooting Skywarp just because small disagreement over the Autobots. Not the best move. It doesn't feel like the writers really knew what they were doing with Jetfire. So that's just how I feel about the Jetfire portrayal. Anyway, on to episode 4. So, the Ultra Magnus death. I like this one because, unlike Jetfire's portrayal, it feels like it has a purpose, story-wise, other than just being thrown in there willy-nilly. Anyway, I think that it would have made a lot more sense, if Jetfire decided to shoot Skywarp, That happens, and we're not going to complain about that, whatever. And then, if you were to lie and, call Skywarp a liar and say that he's just trying to get Jetfire brought down, I feel like that would make a lot more sense because, they're Decepticons. They deceive? I don't know the word. I can't think of it. Moving on. I think Alpha Trion's whole character is really cool. I really wish we had seen more of this, and I will talk about this again, like Kingdoms. And, the whole grand leader who would have brought greatness but was taken far too soon thing I think it's a really cool thing. And the way the show deals with Optimus is kind of weird to me because he feels childishly stubborn at times, which I do get. You need character growth, but it just feels unnecessary at some parts. Alright, so episode 5. I have 2 things to say about Shockwave here. For one, I actually really like how sinister he is and how he kind of adds to Megatron just slipping into insanity and just being pure evil. I think it works well. My issue with him, however, is it just feels like he always has some kind of plot device, some kind of plan that can always mess with the Autobots. It's kind of annoying. Anyway, the last issue I have with Jetfire, he just happens to appear in the show, literal show minutes within when they need a seeker. It's just like, come on, really, at least be subtle about it, man. Anyway, last thing about this episode, it's not the last thing, but second to last thing. It's less of a plot thing, more of just a minor detail I noticed. Bumblebee and the crew, they talk so closely to the guards and aren't even really whispering. It's just like, come on. They should be able to hear that. Come on, man. Anyway, something good I do have to say about this episode. The Sea of Rust. That was such a cool scene. I really wish it would get expanded upon more in other shows because that was really cool. I would love to see that in all kinds of other Transformers media. On to episode 6. Alright, so starting off, I don't like how fast the Alpha Trion protocols are taken from Bumblebee. They were taken so fast from him, it might as well have been replaced with, something he read, honestly. Because, it's just there for, an episode, and just gone. I'm gonna once again bring up Megatron's sanity slipping, because it is pretty evident in this episode. So, even though I didn't like the betrayal itself, I do like how it's shown that, Decepticons aren't pure evil for the most part, but more of misguided souls capable of change, examples being Impactor and Jetfire. I really like how in Megatron's desperation to kill Optimus, he just becomes so clumsy that he allows Bumblebee to just bang, and he gets shot. Anyway, the Omega Supreme scene is the coolest thing I have seen in so long. Come on, that was amazing. It was great. Anyway, another, less plot thing, but something I noticed. You can literally tell how angry Red Alert is when he, gets back up and realizes he missed the arc. He is just livid. It's honestly pretty funny. Alright, before I start off with Earthrise, I want to have it's going to be kind of shorter reviews for these episodes because Earthrise, even though I like it, I like Earthrise, it's just more of a filler to get over to the Kingdoms series. That's kind of my opinion, but that's what it feels like to me. Anyway, let's get started with episode 1. So you may have noticed earlier I said how the Decepticons are not, completely evil for the most part. See, in this episode, the reason I said that is because it is shown they literally imprison their own. So, yeah, that's why I said for the most part. Anyway, I actually really like how the show depicts dictatorships, because if a dictator, they play their cards right, like Megatron, the poor souls under them they don't even know. Like look at North Korea, for example. Like, most of them don't even know it's a dictatorship. Anyway, the Autobot and Decepticon ratio feels way too low to me. Like, it's just, come on, man. 40 Autobots versus a ton of Decepticons. It's just, I get they're like the underdogs, but this is too much, man. Or really too little. Anyway, when Megatron orders Sector 12 be taken offline, that was a moment, definitely. Like, seeing Megatron, even though he was getting all that praise, and they were, like, just praising him for basically breathing in their direction, he still just, like, gets them off. He just tells Shockwave to take the whole sector offline. So, honestly, it's kind of sad, really. Alright, so for episode 2, I think the idea of, like, a non-Autobot Decepticon faction, I think it's a really interesting idea, having a third one to balance it out. I think it's pretty cool. Also, the Quintessons. I don't think most people like them that much, but I think it's actually kind of a neat idea that could be expanded upon. Double Dealer only acting as a pirate, helping them both. I think that's some pretty good writing right there. He's a pirate. He's literally called Double Dealer. So, I think it works, actually. Anyway, on to episode 3. So as the series goes on, I do find this still learning Prime. I think it is kind of interesting, he's still learning. He hasn't achieved all the wisdom he would have in other shows. I think it's pretty cool. Now, the planet on the other side of that space bridge. Look at this thing, man. This will be such a cool episode. I mean, just like, come on. It looks like there's intelligent life there at some point. So it's like, why not, man? Anyways, the Titans. I really wish they would appear more in other things. They are so cool. There's just something about the Titans that are just the coolest to me. I don't know why. Anyway, the fight scene between Optimus and the Titan, Scorponok, is interesting to me because you can see how Optimus is, like, growing as a fighter. And he's holding his own against Scorponok. But the moment is absolutely ruined when Megatron just comes through and beats him up. Like, I did not like that at all. Like, you're telling me Megatron is just that much more powerful than a Titan? Yeah, I don't think so. Okay, so episode 4. I'm just gonna start out saying it. I love all the fight scenes in this episode. I feel like they're really well choreographed. I am mixed on Megatron's portrayal. It adds to his deteriorating sense of honor. Sorry about that. But at the same time, it feels way too rushed, Like, it just feels out of nowhere. Anyway, the way Starscream is just so eager to take over once everyone thinks Megatron's dead, I think that's pretty good, Stays true to the character, and, it just overall makes sense. So in episode 5, I like the show of power from Alpha Trion, just banishing Skylinks, like, super easily. The weird part about it is, we know Alpha Trion gets killed by Megatron. So is Megatron some just, like, kind of deity or something? Why is he so strong? Anyway, I also, like Quintessons and Titans, I wish Unspace was explored more, because I think only War for Cybertron from Netflix and Cyberverse really have had it. I don't recall any others. And I also wish we got more of Skylinks. He and Prime seem to have starting a pretty good bond. The dynamics between Skylinks and Optimus and Megatron and Galvatron are also interesting. Skylinks, he helps Prime with his, burden of guilt and everything. And Galvatron, he just drives Megatron further into madness. Alright, into episode 6. So the Optimus fighting Megatron scene, I like it, you can see how Optimus is just burdened with guilt to the point where he, at the end, literally, before he tries to kill off Megatron, begs him for forgiveness. That is how, much Optimus is beating himself up over what he did. The way the Autobots and Decepticons keep having to team up to survive, and then it always goes better if they hadn't done that, I honestly think it's great. It's quite telling of how stupid their entire war is. Anyway, for the last thing, I like how Kingdoms is teased in this episode. I think it's Pretty neat. Okay, before I start this section, I will say how I do like how humans are just not in this show entirely. I've always disliked human characters. They're just so annoying and get in the way and just make really annoying plot. They just make the story annoying, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. On to episode 1. So I like the way that the Maximals and Predacons are introduced. See, the Predacons, they immediately hit it off with the Decepticons, because I think in their timeline, Decepticons are treated more as war heroes than the bad guys. And, the Maximals hate the Autobots because, Autobots are kind of treated like the evil people in the future timeline, I guess. And the thing about Optimus being at fault, I feel like in this episode especially, you can see it's just being pushed way too hard. Yeah, he did a morally complex thing that was kind of not right, but, he did what he had to. Sure, we get it. Okay, episode 2. Okay, so I do find Black Arachnia's character kind of annoying, but not for the same reason as Alita. Alita is just plain annoying. Black Arachnia is just because she just betrays everyone, just a more severe Starscream. Although it is kind of good, it is more annoying than good. Also, the way the Matrix tries to scare Megatron, I find that really interesting, because to me, this suggests that it is alive like the Allspark, and tries to rid itself of a host it does not deem worthy. Anyways, I'm kind of in the middle about the Golden Disc. I think the concept is cool, but it feels like an overpowered plot device to me. See, this betrayal I like. Dinobots, it's kind of seeded in from the very beginning, while, unlike Jetfire, which it just kind of came out of nowhere. So if Jetfire had been done a bit more like Dinobots, I would have liked it much more. Anyway, the Allspark defending itself, not just being in a hidden chamber, is cool, because usually when the Allspark is involved, it's just some, lame temple. So I think this is just way cooler. And also, the way that the Matrix is actually important and not just something inside of Optimus is really cool, and I really wish it was like this more often, because usually it's just, some offhanded thing someone will just mention once and then never again. Not sure what it is about episode 4, but it just seems like Optimus is being a bit hasty with this, and I don't really like that. The Allspark, being symbiotic is pretty cool, but I feel like every time the Allspark is in a series, it's always some kind of symbiotic relationship, oh my god, the Allspark needs us too. Wow! It's neat, but it's kind of overdone. The whole stop the fighting by stop fighting thing, it's an interesting concept, but the way it's delivered, I just don't like it that much. It kind of feels forced, but I'm not gonna lie, I do not know how it would be fixed. I just know it feels kind of awkward. Also, the way the Matrix and Allspark torture Megatron mentally to keep him away, I think that's pretty cool. Unicron's show of power here in episode 5 is pretty cool, he just makes Starscream go insane just by talking to him. I wish Unicron would be more of a main threat than just some guy who just looms in the background teasing for an episode that'll never come. Come on Hasbro, give us the epic, Prime versus Unicron fight, how Transformers Prime did it. That was pretty cool. You can see how far Megatron has plummeted, because now he is willing to destroy the Allspark, ruin Cybertron just to kill off Optimus. That you can just see the sheer insanity with him. Anyway, the arc scene, similar to the Omega Supreme scene, I love it, man. It's just great, and I hope Teletran 1 can transform like this in other series in the future. This was really cool, man. So similar to, I don't remember what one was, episode 2 or 3 of Earthrise, I like the fight scenes in this one too. In episode 6, I think it's pretty cool. I think it's pretty good. Anyway, the slight redemption of Megatron, choosing to be his own master and betraying Galvatron, I like that idea. I think it's pretty cool. I really wish Nemesis Prime wasn't such a throwaway character. I think Spinster got more lines than Nemesis. And you might say, oh, Nemesis, he's not meant to talk much. He literally appears for one episode. He had been teased since the beginning of Kingdoms and kind of just stood around, shot a few bullets. Anyway, how Bumblebee, kind of helps Optimus like Alpha Trion Protocols told him to. I think that was pretty cool for the ending. And the ending of the episode, and the whole series for that matter, instead of Megatron, dying or becoming a good guy like he usually will, he just kind of has a peace treaty and goes to rule his own planet, which I think, is a nice conclusion. Megatron's still kind of the same old guy, but more reasonable. I think that's cool. The conclusion. There's not much else to say. you like this video, please comment, or if you didn't, comment that too, because I need to know if this is the kind of video you guys want. Anyway, see you guys.